Today we have a special guest, athlete and fitness professional Jaron Stewart. He's vice president and co-founder of Super Me Performance. He's an athlete. He represented the United States at the Millrose Games in track and field, and he currently trains all sorts of clients: actors, lawyers, triathletes, marathon runners, youth, and anyone who wants to find and unleash their super me. We definitely have to find out about that.
I started playing baseball and basketball when I was probably about 5 years old, and then I sort of just fell in love with sports. I was sort of on the chubby side growing up, so it wasn't too easy for me, but once I started playing some more and just having fun, I just fell in love with it.
So what surprised you when you first got out of school and started working with people? What surprised you? What were you not expecting?
I think what I wasn't expecting was how they wouldn't know what to do in terms of exercise.
Okay.
So in terms of just walking into a gym or just getting a client for the first time, first session, I tell them to do a squat. The form that they have, they've been doing squats their whole life apparently, but they've been doing it wrong, and now they come to me with knee problems, back pain. So I think that was the biggest thing.
How do you motivate your clients?
I think the biggest thing of motivation is just finding like a trigger for each client. So if I have a client that wants to lose weight because they just went through a divorce or something like that, it's just trying to find a trigger where they'll be more likely to sort of succeed with the program. Or if I have a client that has kids, wants to be able to run around with the kids. Nobody wants to be the parent that isn't able to run around, have fun, play games with their child. So just finding that trigger, I think, is the biggest way to motivate.
I imagine when you're working with other people all day, getting them in shape, that the last thing you feel like doing at the end of a long day in the gym is working in the gym. So how do you motivate yourself to stay in top shape? That
is a very good question. Some days I'll have like 11 clients in a row. So it's pretty intense. I think the biggest reason that I work out is because I love it. I love it. It's hard after working 13-hour days to find time to work out, but if I don't find time to work out, how can I tell someone else to work out? Or I view my job as being inspirational to my clients. So if I don't work out, I can't expect my clients to do the same.
So you have this company, Super Me Performance.
Yes.
We're going to watch a short video.
Okay. Super Me Performance was founded by myself and my business partner. We specialize in providing coaches to different schools, mostly high schools. Pretty much how it works is a school will come to us and say they want a track coach, they want a basketball coach, volleyball coach, whatever the sport is, and we'll provide that coach. I know when I was growing up, my high school coach wasn't necessarily the best coach. He didn't have real experience playing the sport or coaching the sport. He was just a social studies teacher in high school. So my business partner, same thing with him. So we thought, all right, let's provide quality coaches to different schools within New York City. So we started in 2013, and now we have over 40 coaches placed at different schools around the city.
It's time for viewers' questions with guest host Leslie. Everything you wanted to know about training. Leslie, thanks for coming up.
Thank you, guys. This is such an interesting segment about actually working out and the tricks of the trade. And you're a professional. So what's the difference between exercising, for women and men?
I don't really think there is a difference. I feel like men and women, the body is different, yes, but there's no difference in terms of how many reps you should do, how much weight you should be lifting. Everything is based on what your goal is. If you're trying to bulk up, you'll use a certain formula. If you're trying to lose weight and tone, you use a different formula. But in terms of the actual male versus female, there's no difference.
And that's what we look for someone with your profession. Because for someone like myself, I went to the gym, I started working out, and I started looking like a sumo wrestler. My kids are like, Mom, and I'm like, oh, Diesel, so you really need to know what to kind of do while you're in the gym, and having a personal trainer is actually excellent.
Definitely.
So, Kathy, how do you motivate yourself in working out?
I joined the Y.
Oh, okay.
And my rule for myself was just to go there. Like, I didn't even have to work out. I just had to appear. And usually that was half the battle, like getting there. And once I was there, I would get started. But I signed up for some 5K races, and that was definitely motivation. And then I think it's really important to have a support system.
Definitely.
And for me, at the Y, there were a lot of the people there are so encouraging. And I joined a running group, and of course doing training too. You're going to be there on that day, and it's already built into your schedule, so you don't have to.
Did you have a personal trainer as well? Getting up to that point to actually.
When I first started, no, I was just exercising on my own, and I was feeling better, but I wasn't seeing huge results. So that's why I started looking around to work with a professional.
So would you recommend having a personal trainer if you're getting into races and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like a personal trainer's job is to get you where you want to be. So if you tell a personal trainer you want to run a 5K race, he'll most likely know how to get you to run a 5K race. Yeah, I mean, you have to search for the right trainer, but we can pretty much prepare you for everything.
So do personal trainers also set like a meal plan?
So that's a tricky subject. As a personal trainer, you're not allowed to write a specific meal plan for clients because you're not a registered dietitian. Okay. The laws vary by state, but we can, provide like tips and guidelines, or hey, maybe you should try increasing your protein intake if you're not seeing the results that you want to see. And it all goes along with what you're trying to do.
One thing Jaron suggested to me was MyFitnessPal. And that's a free app where you write down what you eat and what you drink, and it was helpful not just in terms of calories, but you can also see, how much protein you're eating.
Start tracking yourself.
Yeah, and you can see what works for you because there's so much advice out there that might work for somebody else but doesn't work for you. So that way you can treat yourself like a science experiment and say, okay, I did this month and this is what happened, and so how can I tweak it?
So do you recommend stretching prior to exercising?
You want to make sure you're getting a proper warm-up in. So whether it's a 5-minute jog on a treadmill, hop on the bike for a little bit, elliptical, rowing machine, you want to get the blood flowing. You never want to sort of jump right into exercise without properly warming up.
That's true.
But you should also stretch after working out. That's going to be the biggest part. If you don't stretch after working out, that next day you're going to be sore.
Wow.
So just make sure you're stretching definitely after, and then you can even do some stretches beforehand too.
Oh. So what kind of trainers are there? Do you have different type of trainers yourself, Cady?
No, actually, I heard a woman talking about, that's how I got into the whole thing. She was talking about all her trainers, and I was thinking, this lady has too much money and too much time. She had like a yoga trainer.
Oh, wow.
But at the same time, I was, well, maybe I should try it. So maybe you can answer that. What sort of trainers and what they specialize in?
There's different trainers. Me personally, I'm a strength and conditioning specialist, so I deal a lot with athletes. But then I also have a corrective exercise specialist certification, which makes me able to deal with clients that are seeking like rehabilitation, so knee pain, back pain, shoulder, anything like that. But you have trainers. The fitness world has trainers for everything. They'll have a flexibility trainer, a sports performance trainer, agility, weight loss specialist. They have everything is about making money. So there's tons of different certifications out there that you can get.
So what surprised you the most in finding a trainer? Like, what were the differences that you felt in actually getting your workout on and getting healthy? What were the key components you were looking for in a trainer that made you actually feel comfortable in working with someone?
Well, I only had one trainer. I had never done it before, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. I think my image was either someone that yells at you, like the boot camp sort of thing, or someone who's super peppy, like, walking in the gym, woo, you made it to the gym, And when I met Jaron, he wasn't like that at all. So I didn't really have any preconceived notion. But I realized as a violinist, my whole life I've been going to violin lessons every week. Your whole life you do that, and you learn how to train your muscles, and you learn about form, and you have someone that you speak to every week with your goals and everything. So it actually felt very comfortable in that way because it sort of reminded me of violin. A lot of similarities.
So you being her trainer, did you actually help her in like working the arms out more? Because holding a violin, that's more like upward. That's like, you have muscle.
Well, you actually hold it with your head.
Oh, you hold it with your head. Oh, and gee.
So I had pretty weak arms actually.
Yeah, I think definitely you're, as a trainer, one of your goals is to get your client to where they want to be. So if a client is a violinist, you might not know what muscles to work out because I've never played violin before. But from talking to your clients, you can sort of get a feeling for what they need. So yeah, we'll do more like upper body workouts, or specify if you're used to always having your arm out on set or something like that. All right, let's do some more arm work. Let's tone up the arms a little bit like that.
Nice. So. Interesting. So are there any fitness magazines that you would recommend?
The biggest fitness magazine that I use personally is Men's Health, Men's Fitness. I like Men's Health a little bit more just because it sort of gets everything into the picture. Men's Fitness deals with fitness, obviously, but Men's Health will touch on a lot of nutrition, clothing styles, pretty much everything to be a man per se, I guess.
Cady, and I see that he's dressed like you're gonna have a workout today.
Oh, don't get any ideas.
Excellent. So do you do yoga?
I do yoga. I do.
Oh, wow.
I don't do it as much as I'd like. Yoga is not for everybody. I like it. It's hard getting into some of those positions. But yeah, I do it every now and then.
Okay, interesting. So what are one of your favorite parts of the industry you're in that business of being a trainer?
I think it's just meeting new people. Like I'll walk into the gym one day and I'll look at my schedule and I get to meet 4 new potential clients. So just 4 new people in general.
That's
and then
nice.
It's just learning. You get to interact with people. You get to learn where they're from. And you sort of not even just build the client-trainer relationship, you build friendships and like lifelong friendships, yeah.
So how do you feel when they come back and have gained 5 more pounds instead of losing?
Happens a lot. It's just going back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Some of it can be you as a trainer. Maybe I did something wrong, but then some of it could be the client. If I'm with the client for an hour each time I train them, the other 23 hours out of the day, I have no control over what they're doing. I can make suggestions, but I can't follow them around making sure they're doing what they're supposed to do.
That's why you give them the app, right?
Exactly. That's why I use the app.
It's not a GPS though.
So Cady, what's one of your favorite exercises?
Oh, I don't know if I have a favorite. Well, I like stretching. I like it when it's done,
Yeah.
I actually like running more than I thought I would, though.
Oh, wow.
I mean, when I started working out with Jaron, I couldn't even run around the track. I couldn't make it around once, and so I was doing like run walk for quite a long time. But I sort of got into running, and now I signed up for a couple 5K races, and I really find it. I enjoy it.
And do you have any favorite websites that you would recommend, or stuff that you recap on to keep you up in the business?
The only website I really use myself is the MyFitnessPal. Just to, like, I tell my clients to use it, but I use it myself too, just to make sure that my diet sort of stays where it needs to be too. But I don't really use too many other websites, no.
So what's the average meal that you have a day? What's your intake?
Intake. It depends on which day it is. If it's a training day, I might have like 6,000 calories.
Okay. So you kind of keep yourself on schedule too.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you do 6,000 today, that means you do how many tomorrow?
It depends. If that's a training day too, I'm eating another 6,000. But I'm also working out 2 to 3 times a day.
Wow. So you have to.
Yeah. So I sort of have to eat to live.
Yeah, just for the record, we're not recommending 6,000 calories for the average person.
I think what's the average?
Specific to
2,500?
Yeah, they say the average for a male is around 2,000. It depends on your goals, how much you weigh, etc.
So what kind of sneakers do you recommend for working out? Which I have sandals on today, but I do like sneakers. But what do you recommend for our feet?
You wanna get something that's comfortable for you. You wanna get something where it provides you with some ankle support. It's not completely flat. You want some cushioning, and honestly, it has to be comfortable. You're gonna be running. You're gonna be jumping. Well, if you're training with me, you're gonna be doing some.
So you're gonna be working out, right?
You're gonna be doing some jumping, running. So you want to be comfortable, but you want to be safe at the same time.
So do you listen to any music when you work out? Do you
I definitely when I go running, I do.
You do?
And in fact, I buy myself a new song if I have a new race, just to keep it interesting. Because I'm not one of those people that has a million songs in their iPad. So.
Oh, interesting. And how about yourself? You work out with music?
Oh, definitely. I've been to gyms that don't play music, it's the most uncomfortable thing ever. So yeah, I have my headphones on. My music is blasting. If I'm working out on my lunch break, please don't come up and talk to me. I'm trying. I have an hour to get it in.
Oh wow! So do you have any Facebook, like Twitter?
Yeah, definitely. Super Me Performance on Facebook, or that's the Instagram handle as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Are you on his social media account?
I will put it up on the screen. supermeperformance.com.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
Thank you, Cady, for having me.
Oh, my pleasure.
And thank you, viewers, for tuning into Cady's show.
And now it's time for a fiddle tune. A chance to speak with Tanya Benham. She's a violinist and a runner. She did her first New York City Marathon last year, so who better to ask about motivation? Here's what she had to say.
My name is Tanya Benham. I am a violinist and a violin teacher in Brooklyn, and I also work in New York City, Manhattan. I like to run as a hobby mostly, but I also do races. I've been doing races for many years, and I've probably been running for about 12 years. I did a lot of running before I did a marathon because I was a very casual with my beginnings. I basically bought a pair of tennis shoes and would go out the door for 20 minutes, and that went on for several years. And then I got the idea to run around Prospect Park, which seemed like a marathon at the time. So once I did that, I eventually started going down and watching the marathon, and then a little idea got in my head that, wow, what if I ran the marathon one day? And that's how that dream manifested, at least the thought of running the marathon. I think it took me a few years to think, okay, I'm going to actually try this. I'm going to do all the qualifying races for the New York City Marathon over the 9+1 program, which is run 9 races, volunteer for 1 through New York Road Runners. And then the following year, you're guaranteed entry into the marathon. I did all the qualifying races for the marathon and got my guaranteed entry in 2010, so I was supposed to be able to run the marathon in 2011. Unfortunately, once I got towards the end of 2010, I injured my back. For me, surgery was not an option. I found out I had 2 herniated discs, and it really was the process of finding, actually his name is Steve Pang, who was an acupuncturist, is still an acupuncturist in Manhattan, who was the person to really take me to a healing place and bring me back to running, being able to exercise and run. He was also one of the very few doctors or therapists that didn't say, oh, you should never run. He said, why shouldn't you run? Let's just get you better, and then you can get back to what you love to do. I did the training for the New York City Marathon in 2014 and ran the marathon. I did follow a training online, the Al Higdon training, and I also joined the New York Road Runners training. And so I had 2 guidelines of how much I should be running every week, and the New York Road Runners also gives you a lot of tips on what to eat. I mean, they cover every aspect of all the things you have to think about when you're training. I had a few of my very long distance runs that were a little bit rough, maybe mile 19 or something, but 18 was great. And 20 was good too. So I liked the regularity of following a training. That was, for me, having it laid out in front of me, knowing this is what I have to do on this day. Motivating myself was occasionally hard, but it was also very nice to just follow the training. I think it's essential. If you don't do the training, I really can't imagine running the marathon.
And how do you motivate yourself when you don't feel like getting up and doing the training? Any tips on that?
You know, everybody knows what it feels like to be too tired to go to work or too tired to exercise. Or I think when you have a race planned, it's different than, it's actually more motivating than if you don't have an end goal. If I was just getting up to run one morning and I'm tired, then I could always do it the next day. But when I have to get 5 runs in a week, there's no delaying it. So you just force yourself to get up and do it. And if occasionally, if I just couldn't do it in the morning, then that meant I had to do it at night, which meant my day might not end until 10 o'clock at night. But that was the choice I made in the morning. At the time of my marathon training, I did have some other things. The busyness of my life seemed to increase as the training increased. My husband, who is a jazz drummer, had been working on opening a recording studio, which it's been years in the process of getting this business off the ground, so which is called Big Orange Sheep, and that's another story. He had sometimes needed things from me, needed extra help with certain projects. So that was something going on in our life at the time, and it was also when I was needing to do the 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 mile run. So that takes hours, not half an hour, 45 minutes. So definitely the time management towards the end with other things going on in my life and in my husband's life were more challenging to manage.
Did you find any comparisons to preparing for a violin concert and preparing for a marathon?
Well, one thing I have to say I really love about running and about preparing for the marathon, first of all, I'm not a competitive professional runner, so there's a bit of an ease that I don't necessarily put the same pressure on myself to get certain time, and it's very clear cut. That's probably one of my favorite things about training for races. You do this, 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 and you get this many miles in a week and you've done it. For me, that's a big accomplishment, is getting the runs in. It's okay if one run is slower and one run is faster, but with my violin training and preparation for gigs and for concerts and projects that I have, it's looser, and it's in terms of the end goal. You can always play it better. So for me, running is a really nice, relaxed, I like the fact that I've done the very best job I can and it actually is over. Whereas with violin, I have to, I can always be better. So the journey is never done. The race is never over. I think it might have been around mile 18 or 19. There were banana peels everywhere. And it's wet from the water. So there's like this, you know, this maze of slippery madness everywhere, just banana peels. It's like a cartoon. So that was a surprise. And I would say my last surprise was how connected I felt to New Yorkers the day of the race, especially going through certain neighborhoods. I would say Fort Greene was just unbelievable. What kind of spirit is in that neighborhood? It was just, it really felt amazing. I felt more connected to the people of New York, just seeing the spectators. But to have people cheering you for hours and hours, you really start to love New York. There's a lot of reasons sometimes to get frustrated with New York, but if you run the marathon, you really do love the people for more than a day. So that was a very nice surprise. I would say if you're thinking about it, then you should do it. I think if I could have, I would have loved to have even a little bit more support. There's groups you can join, running clubs, trainers you can get. If I could have had a personal trainer, I think that would have been great.
So how was the end of the marathon?
Well, crossing the finish line of the marathon, I was very exhausted. So it was really about finding energy again and getting home, but pretty shortly after, I felt just that I had accomplished something really special, and I can own that the rest of my life, that I did something really great for myself, and nobody can take that away from me. And I have the medal, but I will always have inside me that I ran the marathon.